Morning, thanks for joining and welcome to our sunny summer trip down to Öland. So, as some of you guys might know, I am a British guy who lives here in Sweden. Now, we're going away camping this weekend. We're going down to a really nice island on the southeast coast of Sweden called Öland. And I thought I'd take this opportunity to show off this amazing country a little bit and talk to you guys a little bit about some tips I have on moving abroad to a different country. Now, this is by no means a definitive do's and don'ts list of what to do when moving abroad. This is more like a few tips that I have that I think are important that I don't see discussed that often. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really nice trip. So I've got to go and do a bit of packing, I've got to find the tent. Yeah, tag along, I think it's going to be really nice. That's what we need. Tent, underlays. Hey, that was impressive. Just drop you down here for a second. So first and foremost, my first tip, probably the most important one in my opinion, is language. Now this is one that probably gets discussed a little bit more than the rest, but I feel like it does get overlooked a little bit by some people. I think when you move into a country like Sweden, it's very easy to think, well, everybody speaks English anyway, so why would I bother learning Swedish? And to an extent, that is true. Everybody here speaks English, for the most part anyway. And it is a nice thought that in an emergency, you can run up to somebody and speak English, and the chances are they're going to understand. But I feel like living in a country and forcing people to speak a language that is not their own can give you some real anxieties, at least it did for me. I think it's a little bit different with friends and colleagues and stuff like that. But you know, strangers, if you're walking up to strangers and asking them to speak a different language than they were maybe expecting to speak, you know, it can catch them off guard and make you feel really bad. I didn't want to live like that, so I tried really hard to learn the language, and I would recommend you doing the same. So learn as much of the language as you can before you come here. And obviously you don't have to be fluent, but learn the basics for sure. A really good piece of advice, I think, is to utilise Google Translate. Nowadays, everybody has access to Google Translate on their phones, so really take advantage of that. And my piece of advice on that would be learn basic sentences and then use Google Translate to kind of fill in the rest. So for example, learn the sentence, I would like to buy. Now learn that off by heart because chances are you're going to need to use that. And then when you're on your way to the shop, use Google Translate to translate the subject of that. So for example, a stamp. Think about things that you can't just go in and buy off the shelf, you know, stamps, maybe medicine, stuff like that. So Google Translate the word stamp. You already know how to say, I would like to buy. Now you just need to remember the word for a stamp. You already know most of it, you only need to remember one new word. And you can do that for as many sentences as you can. Think of all the basic things that you might need to ask strangers. I would like to buy. Where can I find the? How do I get to the? So yeah, that way you really minimise the risk of messing up the sentence. And speaking of messing up, nobody cares. Seriously, nobody cares if you mess up a word or a sentence. People will hear that you're foreign, that you're trying to talk a language which is not your first language. They'll be very understanding to that. And often they'll even be impressed that you're trying. I've had very few negative experiences when trying to speak Swedish. Very rarely do I feel like I'm being made fun of or anything like that. Maybe those things will happen occasionally if you're unlucky, but you just have to brush them off. So be confident, get out there, start speaking that language, because that's really the only way that you're going to properly improve. So yeah, we're on our way down to Öland. We're about an hour away, just stopped off at some services for a quick coffee, and we'll be there soon. So my next tip for you is to set up a transport line from home. Now, I've just made that word up, but it's not a real thing really. But what I mean by that is to have somebody prepped from home or from the country you're moving from, prepped to send stuff over for you that you might be missing. So for a lot of people, it's chocolate or sweets or you know, comfort food, that kind of thing. For me, it was mostly tea bags. You know, I'll get the occasional biscuit package from my mum or my sister or something like that. And having somebody send stuff out to you kind of semi-regularly, it really cuts down on the homesickness, and you know, you feel like you're still connected with home, mostly via food, to be honest. But I know a lot of people that get stuff sent over from home, and it really does help. There will be stuff that you miss, definitely. So yeah, prep somebody at home, let them know that occasionally you might want some stuff sending out. It'll really cut down on that homesickness. So here we are on Öland. The journey down was not too bad. We had to stop a couple of times because obviously we've got the small baby, but all in all, not too bad at all. We were a little bit worried about the weather at one point because it went a bit grey, a bit drizzly on the way down, but yeah, I don't think we've got anything to worry about now. It's about 26, 27 degrees, something like that. Not too many clouds, so I think we'll be okay. So yeah, we're parked up, the tent's pitched. Molin's mum's actually out on the paddleboard at the moment, so I'm going to get the drone in the air, try and get a little bit of footage of that, and maybe see a little bit of the surrounding area. After that, it'll be time to fire up the grill, so yeah, tag along. This is not what we ordered. Terrible weather. But hopefully it passes soon enough and the sun comes back, but certainly doesn't look like it. But we'll make the most of it anyway. So the rain's cleared a little bit, thankfully. It's actually not too bad now. Anyway, back to the whole point of the video. My next bit of advice for you is, in terms of making new friends in the new country that you're moving to, you really do get out what you put in terms of how much effort you put in. Look online, see if you can find some expat communities. Chances are, whichever country you're moving to, there'll be an online community of expats or immigrants who have done the same thing. I'm part of a Facebook group called Brits in Sweden. Since joining that group, it's brought me so much more comfort. It's definitely helped in terms of kind of homesickness and whatever. That group's really active. There's several posts a day, and it can range from people giving advice on where to find good crisps or good tea bags or whatever, to kind of advice on what to do when applying for citizenship. And the thing about these communities is you don't have to wait until you've moved here. You can join up whenever you like. You can join up when you first start thinking about moving to that country. So if you're even thinking about moving to a new country, I'd suggest getting on that straight away. And you'll probably, you know, make a decent amount of friends from there. And good friends as well. People who have gone through the same thing as you're going to go through. Anyway, I think we're going to go and have a bit of lunch now. So I'll see you in a bit for the next tip. So there you go, that was our trip down to Öland. Obviously, as you saw, it didn't quite go as planned, but we still enjoyed it. We still had a nice couple of days and made the most of it despite the terrible weather. And because of the weather, I didn't actually get a chance to record the last tips that I had on this subject. I did have a couple more points that I wanted to talk about. But that being said, I did also notice that the video was getting pretty long. I'm almost certainly going to do another video on a topic similar to this, so I'll save those tips for a future video, so look out for that one. But yeah, I've also kind of come to the conclusion that the Swedish summer is definitely on its way out. It's way too cold now to be recording these little intro, outro bits outside as I have done in the past. So I think the next plan of action is to rearrange this little room. Going to make a nice little recording setup so that I can carry on recording these videos through the winter. So I think that's the next plan. But that's it for today. Thanks once again for tuning in. I really appreciate your support. If you've enjoyed this, then please consider hitting the subscribe button if you're interested in seeing more of Sweden or hearing about more advice on moving abroad or anything like that. Leave us a comment below if you've been through anything similar. I'd love to hear your thoughts or your comments. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you very much once again, and I'll see you in the next one.